What's going on YouTube? So these days, people cannot get enough of crossovers. But also these days, the prices of CUVs are ballooning into the stratosphere. However, that's where models like this all-new 2024 Chevy Trax come in. Starting at only $21,495, this model will not just be the most affordable crossover in the lineup, but also the entry point into the Chevy lineup now that the Sparks has been discontinued. So is this all-new Chevy Trax the entry-level crossover for you? Let's go ahead and find out. So when you first walk up to this all-new Trax, you're probably not even going to recognize that it is a Trax. That's how much different it looks from the outgoing generation. That model was rather bubble-like in my opinion, but as you can see, this model does not look anything like that at all because it is longer, it's lower, and it's wider. Specifically up here in the front, you're going to notice that additional width, 2 extra inches wide. So let's go ahead and take a look here at that front end design. So we've got 2 trim levels with us today. There's going to be 5 total trim levels. This is the 2RS trim level, and this is the active trim level, which is available on the Trax for the very first time. Taking a look first here at our RS trim level. As you can see, this is going to have the sporty design elements. So you've got the blacked out fascia, you've got the black bow tie badge, and you've got your RS branding. And then you've got the black accent that's going to kind of come through the grille and over here into the front end design. Now, if you look over here at the active, you'll notice this does also have a nice gloss black finish to the grille itself, but you're going to notice the body colored elements from the rest of the vehicle. That's going to actually move in to the grille, giving it a distinct look from this model. Chevy really emphasized that they wanted each model to have their own personality. That way you can just pick what best matches with your personality. But let's go ahead and also take a look at our exterior lighting. So this model really draws a lot of inspiration from the big Chevy Blazer model. And one of the biggest places where you'll see that is going to be the headlights. So you've got that split design just like that model. So up here at the top, this is where your signature LED daytime running light is going to reside. And then down here below, this is the cluster for the actual headlight unit itself. Now the other important thing about this headlight unit is the fact that it's LED. And it's not just LED on this upper end model, it's LED across the entire lineup, which is certainly a nice touch for this price point. Now, as we start to move more around to the side, one of the other things that's really going to draw your attention are these wheels. So just like with the kind of front end designs, you do have a lot of different choices in this regard, starting at 17-inch alloys, moving up to 18-inch alloys. And if you choose this 2RS model, you're going to have 19-inch alloy wheels, which is a really, really large size for a vehicle of this size. And they really stand out. I love this design with all the color contrast accenting pieces and the gloss black accents. Now as we rise above, you will see those gloss black accents continue up here at our mirrors. And as far as the features, the RS trim levels and the active will come standard with heated mirrors, and you also have available blind spot monitoring.
Now, we do have a lot to talk about here at the side of the all-new Chevy Trax. So as far as the length, Drew said at the beginning, this vehicle is longer and lower than ever before, and by longer, he does mean quite a lot. It's 11 inches longer than the previous generation Chevy Trax, which puts it around 178 inches in length. And you're probably saying at this point, well, Mason, how does this kind of fit into the lineup with the Trailblazer, because Chevy does have 2 small crossovers. This is actually going to be a little bit longer, so about 5 inches longer than the Trailblazer. However, Chevy has said this is kind of a more sedan-like, sleeker SUV than that Trailblazer model. Now, I do also want to talk about some of your design elements going on. So we do have blacked out window surrounds. We also have a nice black roof rail up here at the top that's piano black. I like that look. And then we do also have some matte, rugged material down here at the very bottom area. Now, I gave Drew a second to reposition so he could get a good look at the rear design of this all-new Trax, because This is a very stylish look. I am a big fan of the way it looks in person, and you know, for a small SUV like this, some of them can look a little bit jelly beany, and this one definitely has a nice sleek design to it. So let's go ahead and break down some of those elements going on. Up top, we're going to have a nice integrated spoiler. It's a very large spoiler, and down below that we also have an integrated wiper. Blacked out Chevy bow tie. You're going to have your trim level here on the right side, and let's take a look at our taillights. Now, this is an affordable SUV, so you don't really expect to have elaborate taillight designs, and that's not going to be on this Trax. So you're going to have fully incandescent taillights. That said, I am happy the money went to the headlights up in the front, making those LED. Now, if we drop down to the lower area, we do have a mixture of matte black plastic as well as some chrome finishings as well. No exposed exhaust outlet on any Trax model. And it's also time to talk about our warranty and safety information, and I'm happy to say that Chevy has really upped the ante when it comes to the safety systems on this all-new Trax. So we're going to be looking at 3 out of 4 of those safety systems as standard equipment on every single model, so even that base $21,000 Trax model will have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, auto high beams, as well as lane keeping assist. And also new for the 2024 model is you're going to have adaptive cruise control available for the first time on any Trax ever. Now, as far as your warranty information, you're going to have Chevy's signature warranty, 3-year 36,000 mile basic warranty, 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. But guys, we won't leave you in suspense any longer. Let's go ahead and check out what you're going to get on the inside.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the interior of this all-new Trax and check out what we have inside. Now, from the second you climb into the cabin, you're going to be able to tell this is really nothing like the outgoing generation. The biggest things that I notice are, well, how big it is. It feels very spacious inside of here. You have a lot of openness and airiness, which is something Chevy really emphasized with this new generation. And then the other thing I'm noticing is the enhanced technology. It looks very high tech, especially when you consider this is an entry-level crossover. But I'll go ahead and let Mason climb inside and we'll take a detailed look at all the features. Now, before I talk about the interior materials as a whole, let's go ahead and take a look at the key first of all. As you can see, this is basically your typical Chevy key fob, including the remote start built into the fob itself. But now let's go ahead and talk about the overall cabin materials. Now, like I said, this is an entry-level crossover at the end of the day, so it's not going to be luxurious. That being said, it is very solid, especially for the price point. So looking over here at our door trim, where of course in this RS trim level, it is going to be slightly padded here on the armrest portion. We do have a leatherette above this with the double stitching detail. It's going to be hard touch along the top. And then the upper dash is going to have a unique textured design. So we have this kind of checkered design built into the plastic itself. Looks pretty nice. We've got piano black accents that run all throughout. And of course, you're probably also noticing the round vents because those details, that kind of harkens back to the Blazer as well as the Camaro, you know, given that nice Chevy family resemblance, excuse me. And then of course down here at the bottom, you do also have more piano black trim as well. Now your upper trim levels, those are going to come with the push button start. Of course, I'm not going to start it up here indoors at the studio, but let's take a look at these gauges here. So this, of course, is a big change from the outgoing generation. We have really a huge tech enhancement. I'll talk about the main infotainment system in a second, but I do want to focus on these gauges first and foremost. So this is going to be an 8-inch digital gauge cluster. Like I said, it does look very high tech for a vehicle in this price point, and you're going to have all different kinds of configurations that you can choose between, and you can adjust the design and all the things that you expect from a nice digital gauge cluster. Now, I do also want to talk about the seats. As you can see on this RS trim level, we do have special seats. You get the red accents as well as the RS branding inside the seat itself. This is a leatherette material, and it feels pretty nice and comfortable sitting inside of it. Now, as far as power adjustment, it is only going to be power adjusting on that active trim level. And speaking of that active trim level, that does also have some special yellow accents inside because Chevy has basically themed, just like the exterior, the interiors have their own theme levels depending on which trim level you choose. But let's carry on our interior tour by taking a look here at our steering wheel. Really nice looking steering wheel. I love this design. This is the flat bottom design. This is actually going to be special to the 2RS trim level. You got the piano black down here at the bottom, the perforated and stitched leather here on the sides with nice feeling bolsters. It really kind of looks like a Camaro, and I really like the way, like the overall design. And you have the black Chevy badge as well. Of course, the wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping, and on your LT trim level and above, you'll also get steering wheel heating. Now, let's turn our attention over here and take a look at interior storage next. So this is another area Chevy said that they have made some enhancements. A couple things that they've done. One of them is going to be a new electronic parking brake. This is going to actually kind of help free up a lot of space in this cabin so that you can have very spacious accommodations for a subcompact crossover, including here in our console, which is very deep. We've also got another storage area right here in front of that. You've got two nice sized cup holders, and then up in the very front it's going to be a little challenging to see, but for the very first time we have a available wireless phone charging pad on the Trax model. You also have got your traditional connections if you want to use that as well, but you can wirelessly charge while you're using wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay, which is something I'm going to talk about in just a second. And you do also have just a traditional style shifter. Once again, it's not running, so I can't show this off, but of course you do have a standard backup camera as well. Now above that we have our climate controls. The upper trim models are going to come with this automatic setup. This is going to be appears to be single zone automatic climate control, but really nice and big knobs here that we can easily adjust, as you can see, and adjust the fan speed right over there. As far as your heated seats, those are going to be located right underneath of that. That's going to be on both your RS trim levels and the active grade as standard equipment and available on the LT. But I'm not going to wait any longer. Let's go ahead and dive into this, because this is really kind of the main thing that stood out as soon as I got into this vehicle was just how large this display is. This is an 11-inch display, and this is going to be included on your upper trim levels. Now, you don't really get shafted if you get a lower end model, because you're still going to get an 8-inch display on board with that, and it's going to come with the new Chevy software, meaning you do have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay abilities on all trim levels of this new generation of the Trax. Now, like I mentioned, you do have this new software, which we've tested out most recently in the latest example of the Tahoe. It's based on the Android Automotive infotainment system, and it does work very nicely. You've got a lot of apps. You have these buttons over here on the side, and as you can see, it has very pleasant animations as well as you go through different settings inside of the system itself. And last but certainly not least, for those of you who like to have the wind in your hair, you do have an available sunroof.
Well guys, I'm sitting in the all-new Chevy Trax's rear seat, and as you can just tell by looking around, that large space is going to continue for this rear area. Actually, it is vast improved over the previous generation Trax. So that extra length on the outside that I talked about, that is really going to pay you dividends when it comes to rear space. We're looking at over 3 inches more legroom than the previous generation Trax, which puts us at 38.7 inches of legroom, and that does also make this one of the largest things in the entire segment, because that is a lot of space, guys. This seat is adjusted pretty much all the way back. I'm 5'9" for reference, and yeah, I know it's a little dark in this cabin, but as you can see, I still have probably 3 or 4 inches of space between my knees and the seat back, and my feet can also slide up underneath the seat. I'm very, very comfortable and very impressed, because things in this segment typically are not this comfortable in the rear area. Now, let's also talk about some of the features that Chevy is including. Now, of course, this is a basic vehicle, so you're not going to have a ton of features, but we do have a charging USB port as well as a USB Type-C. It's nicely illuminated, as we can see here. You're not going to have any vents, but you do have a little storage cubby in that area. And I do also want to point out we are missing the central armrest. That's, of course, something that some of the competitors do eliminate in this segment. It would be nice if they included that in the higher end trim levels, but that is something you're going to be missing out on. And turning to your door trim, we do have a hard touch most of the door trim. It's going to be a nicely grained plastic, though, and your armrest portion does have a little bit of padding to it. We do also have a little bit of storage down below that as well. Now walking up to the cargo area for this all-new Trax. Now, as you would expect, we are going to have a manually opening tailgate. That's very common within this segment. You're typically not going to find a power tailgate. That said, it's not an issue because this vehicle is actually very low to the ground, so you can just lift it up very easily. Now, as far as the space itself is concerned back here, you're hearing a common theme about how this vehicle is larger than the previous generation. That's also going to pay dividends in the cargo department as well. So we're looking at 54 cubic feet around is what we're seeing for this all-new model, which is a 12% improvement over the previous generation Trax. So you're going to have a lot of space back here. And one thing that Chevy was mentioning is that people might be choosing this over something like a Chevy Cruze. And of course, that's going to be a lot more space than what you typically get in like a sedan. And we do also have a cargo cover up top. If we lift that up, we have a spare tire up underneath of the cargo floor, and we do also have some illumination. Now for the seats, they do fold 60-40 split, and it's hard to see back here, but there are not any handles, so you will have to just fold them in the second row area itself. Now your passenger seat is going to be manually adjusting as you would expect. And then as far as the glove box, we'll go ahead and pop that baby open. I'm not really sure what's in this glove box area. We unfortunately don't have the coupons with us. We're on a very limited time frame to show you this new Trax, but I suspect they will fit in there perfectly fine. And then up top, we do have a sun visor. We have a large mirror in here. No illumination though. It does detach and it does not have an extension. All right, guys, now of course we will not be driving this all-new 2024 Chevy Trax because this is a studio first look. Hopefully Chevy will provide us with an opportunity to drive this later when this vehicle is closer to coming out, but we can talk about the engine and powertrain itself. So what we're going to have on board is a 1.2 liter turbo 3-cylinder. It's going to be making 137 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque. Now that's actually the same motor that you get standard on the bigger brother Trailblazer. However, you do not have the option of getting the 1.3 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine that Trailblazer does offer. Now, as far as your transmission, you're going to be looking at a 6-speed automatic transmission, and power is going to be put to the ground via the front wheels only. So that's a major distinguishing point between this Trax and the Trailblazer, is that this Trax is going to be front-wheel drive exclusive, whereas the Trailblazer can get that all-wheel drive system. Now, if you're buying a small SUV like this, you're probably going to be very concerned about the fuel economy, and unfortunately we don't have the official EPA estimates. Of course, this is a 2024 model year vehicle. That said, we can kind of estimate based on the Trailblazer's same engine, which is coming in at 29 city, 31 highway, 30 combined. So that's pretty impressive fuel economy, and I would expect that to be very similar, if not a little bit better, for this all-new Trax. All right, and we need to talk about the pricing for the all-new Trax because that is a very attractive element for this all-new model. So every single trim level is going to be under $25,000, which is something Chevy was quick to point out, and I am very impressed by. So I'll go through. We actually do have the pricings for each of the trim levels. So the LS is going to start at $21,495. The 1RS is going to be $23,195. The LT is $23,395. The 2RS is $24,995, and the Active is also $24,995. So as you can see, the two testers that we have today are going to be the same price. You kind of just pick your different flavor for that. And guys, that even includes destination. So you're going to be able to get one of these Trax models for a very, very affordable price. It's actually coming in a lot lower than many of the rivals in the segment. Well guys, that's going to wrap up our studio review of the all-new 2024 Chevy Trax. We hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps us out and helps us get invited to programs like this where we can show you guys the newest cars first. So please go ahead and do that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.